Okay, we're recording. Cool. So, how is everybody? Good? Bad? Indifferent? Well, hopefully you won't be indifferent for long because Danier's here, and I'm really excited about her talk. I just moved here to start teaching a little over a year ago, so I have a pretty broad contact network, but none of them are from Bakersfield. They're from LA or San Francisco or back in the Midwest, and I really wanted to have somebody from Barbershop for King Bill Hoffman come in here because it's the local game in town. I don't like it's great that I know somebody at PwC back in DC, but that's not nearly as relevant as you. So thank you so much for coming. I'm going to take attendance real quick and then hand things over to you. So we're missing Amanda, right? Okay. What? Okay. Is she supposed to be coming? Okay. So Amanda, Kitty, and Dahi, and then Tung as well. So Amanda, Kitty, Dahi, Tung, and we're missing Anna. Oh, is she here? Okay, cool. And we're missing Jeanette, right? And we're missing Macy. Is Macy here or is she? Okay, missing Macy. And we're missing almost all of Group E. Okay, Lily's here and Lovetron's here. But we're missing Bagat, Ernesto. Ernesto emailed me, and Gabrielle. And then Jackie also emailed me, and so did Selena. And we are missing Jacqueline, and we're missing Andrea, right?
Did you mean to say Jackie or Katie?
Katie. Okay. Man, Sam, I was so close to getting all it's close.
No.
Oh, and there is Andrea. Okay, so without further ado, I got some announcements to do later, but the star of the show, Daniera Hoffman, audit director, right? Audit manager at Barbage Hooper King Bill Hoffman, is here to talk to us today. I've given you guys a little bit of background about her in the email I sent out, but I will let you take it from here.
Where did you want me to stand?
If you could just stand over there, and let me make sure that I'm getting.
He didn't tell me I was going to be on the video today.
So let me. Perfect. Go right ahead.
Okay. So hello everyone, my name is Danera Millan. I'm a CPA with Barbage Hooper King Bill Hoffman, a local accounting firm here in Bakersfield. I am an audit manager with the firm. I've been there about 18 years with them. And if you don't know anything about Barbage Hooper King, we're a local CPA firm. We've been in business, I think, over 35 years now. One of our first partner, Lou Barbage, started Barbage and Associates, I believe, 40 years ago, and we've become kind of a different company since then, but we've basically been in existence since probably 35 years ago. So we've been around for a long time. I would think that we're probably one of the top 3 larger firms here locally. We're pretty close to about 50 individuals. And that includes, our admin group. It includes a pension administration department. We have about a little bit over 10 bookkeepers, 5 partners, and the rest are professionals, either staff or CPAs, either senior supervisors or managers as well. So we're one of the fairly larger firms here in town. And we do accounting services, which includes the bookkeeping part. We do audits as well, any attest engagements. We do tax, of course. I think tax takes up about 40%. Audit takes up about 30% of the business, and then the rest is a little bit of everything else. We don't do very much. We don't have a litigation department per se. I know some of you may have heard that there's another CPA firm in town that has a lit department. We do litigation, but it's on a partner-by-partner basis. So if a client requests litigation services, they'll do them, but we don't have a department per se. And I think that's about it as far as the firm itself. Like I said, it's been around for a really long time. As far as myself, I started out at Cal State Bakersfield a little bit over 18 years ago. I actually grew up in a little town north of Bakersfield in Delano. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up. I loved math, so I thought, okay, numbers, math, I'll do accounting. So that's how I got started with accounting. I thought that was all about math and that would be easy. I would be stuck in a cubicle doing just math problems all day long. So I started with that. I didn't do a tax internship like most people have started, which I would recommend. The firm was just looking for staff accountants during the summer, and I ended up applying and getting the job. So it's been my only CPA firm job that I've had. I haven't jumped around. I didn't start in public or private accounting. I started in public. So basically, I started straight out of college. I graduated in June and started there in July, and I've been there ever since. As a staff person, at least with our firm, you start off doing both. You start off doing tax and audit. So the departments share you for about 2.5 years until you kind of go into your own areas. At that point, you decide which area best fits your expertise, your technical skills, or where you see maybe there's more opportunity than others. So for about 2.5 years or so, I did both. But since I started in the summer, I did mostly audit work. So I fell in love with audit, and that's why I've been doing audit ever since. Once I became a senior, I got to pick which department I wanted to be in. So even though audit and tax departments do actually work together, we have some of the same mutual clients. I don't do any taxes whatsoever except for my own. So that's kind of where I've ventured into. And that's where I want to stay. I call the tax side the dark side, and other people would probably say differently. So I started off taking the exam when I started as a staff accountant. I don't know if you guys, how many of you are actually county concentration students? Can you see it?
We've got about 5. If you want to raise your hands higher. So Rachel over here, Lily, Natasha, Esperanza, and normally we would have Kitty right here and Dahi right here. I think Dahi actually interviewed with you before.
Yeah, she's a
and then Kitty would normally be here. I think that's our main. Okay. We had a couple of people interested in banking as well, which is sort of tangentially related. So Maria, Jeff, and Anthony's kind of more iBanking interests, but there's several.
There's several. Right.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Right. No. I just wanted to get an idea. So for those of you that don't know much about accounting, there's the public and private accounting. So private accounting is when you go specifically to one company. It can range anything from like a local farming business, it could be supermarket, it could be any type of family-owned business, a big company, anything of that sort you can go into, but that would be like one company. For public accounting, you go to a CPA firm where you handle multiple accounts. So I feel that, if you don't know whether you want to go private or public, that just starting off with public and getting your experience, which is about 2 years, I believe, to get your experience before you get your license, and passing the exam, the CPA exam, that it makes you more marketable, even if you decide that public accounting is not for you, because at that point you have that accounting background, you have a little bit of knowledge of different businesses, different industries, because you work on multiple clients, and then you go off and do something on your own. So, we have turnover just like any other company. What we find is that sometimes that turnover is because our clients that we work on will call us when they need a CFO or a controller. So I've been doing the account for a certain client, for a number of clients for a very long time. So they're in need of a controller and they can't find the right person. Sometimes the first thing they do is they call their CPA and say, hey, do you want to come over to private accounting? So some of that turnover in our firm is from our own clients that kind of offer some of our employees jobs because they know that we know their accounts because we've been working on their accounts for so long. So for those of you that are in accounting that may not know which way to go, I obviously I'm in public, would recommend public to get at least your experience and then jump on to private if that's what you want to do. And private also includes governmental entities as well. So, Cal State Bakersfield employs an accounting department. So it can mean a variety of different things. And I don't know if you guys attended I don't know how many of you would belong to the University Accounting Association, but they had a panel discussion of about 5 of us who are in accounting, and it ranged everyone from like a CPA in a local government who works for the city. There was a person that worked for CBIZ, which has a litigation department. There was the CFO from, I think, KMC, Kern Medical Center, I believe is what it stands for. So he was an accountant as well, and then also a tax attorney here locally that was an accountant himself. So there's a variety of fields for accounting that you can go into. Obviously, my expertise is public accounting. So, I deal with everything from ag clients to oil and gas, refining company. I have my niche particularly also is employee benefit plan audits. So I do about 30 of those as well. I think I have just a little bit of everything. So I get to see everything from the table grape industry here locally to the refining as far as the prices are concerned here locally as well. The employee benefit audit section is a whole other different animal that deals with the Department of Labor. So I deal with a little variety of everything. Within our firm, we deal with mostly ag, of course, but we deal with mom and pop shops around town as well. We deal with manufacturers. We don't do a lot of oil and gas as far as like the Chevrons in town or the Eras in town, but we deal with a lot of the vendors that deal with those companies as well. So we get to see a little bit of everything. My day, every day is never the same. So at our level, as far as the manager is concerned, it's a lot of client servicing. It's not, the math is like the last piece of what I do at the end of each day. So as a staff accountant, you would start off either doing taxes or as a tax intern or as a staff person, helping on audits and tax work. And you get to go out to field work. We go out to clients' offices. That's where I was today, at a client's office, doing field work in a team, in a group of 4, in a group of 3, in a group of 2. I think that public accounting offers a variety. Every day is not the same. You're dealing with different clients, different industries, and even when you're dealing in the same industry, it's different clients. Our audit standards change all the time. Our tax regulations change all the time. So you're constantly learning. So, yes, once in a while you get a project that might be boring, that you might not want to work on, but every day is never the same. We pride ourselves in customer service to our local clients. That's one of the reasons a lot of our clients stay with us. So it's a lot of, taking phone calls, taking emails, getting projects done. We get work all the time from existing clients. Sometimes we have like one client, a mom and pop, farming entity that has grown so big that we do all of their generations, their kids and the kids of their kids, everything from their tax returns, their financial statements, their trust returns. So we end up servicing multiple generations as well. So that's one of the other things we pride ourselves into, is that we have all the generations usually that come with like the clients that we originated with, years and years ago. The CPA exam, I guess I'll touch on that because that's a biggie. So the CPA exam for accountants, whether you go into private or public, is probably a huge deal. Usually that's a 4-part test that students take. They have to have X number of units to be able to sit for the exam. So even though someone in accounting might get their bachelor's, they have to have enough units, which is 150 semester units, I believe, which I don't remember what it translates into quarter units, but I think nowadays, because our standards change so much, that some students have to go like 5 years to school to be able to even sit for the exam. So even after they have a bachelor's degree, they have to go back to school to get more units to sit for the exam. It's a 4-part test. It is difficult, but it is doable. You do have to study for it. So if there's any accounting students here, I would recommend as soon as you can sit for the exam to take it, because you still have your study habits in order. It took me a long time to do it because I gave myself a break and then I just didn't get back on track for a while. So the exam is doable. You can take it 1 part at a time. But once you get that CPA next to your name, you're very marketable. And obviously your clients trust you more if you have that license next to you. And I think someone said they looked at my LinkedIn and it didn't say CPA, but I am a CPA. I think I just didn't update I didn't update my LinkedIn profile. So for those of you, there's very few people in the state. I mean, we have a membership at the Cal CPA, maybe 30 to 40,000 members. Not all of us are CPAs. So, I mean, it is an elite group. So those of you who do have get the chance to study for it and get it done, whether you go to public or private, I would highly recommend you guys do that for those of you that are accounting students. I think that's it for me. I'll just go through a few of the questions.
Yeah, go please. I've been, like, while you've been talking, I've been going through and
You guys
cherry
had
picking some questions
great
that I
questions
wanted to
as
make sure we
well.
get to.
Oh, okay, perfect.
You
I'll go
start
through
out, and if
some.
there's ones we don't get to, I'll bring them up at the
Oh,
end.
no problem. Sorry, I have to wear my glasses now. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so what has been the biggest?
You want to mention the name too? I can point out kind
sure.
of like personalize things a little bit.
Okay, not a problem. I'll just go through. Okay, so Vanessa Verdilla.
This is Vanessa right here.
Okay, perfect. So what steps did you have to take to become an audit manager, not director? So basically within our firm, we don't have kind of like a step schedule of, okay, after 2 years you become a senior, after 3 years you become a supervisor. We basically, your career is in your hands. So our average is about 2.5 years to become a senior, because by that point you've been on enough jobs, that you should be having those technical skills, being able to function on your own, being able to speak to clients and also to the partners. So we really, at our firm, it's really about how you want to drive your career. So for me personally, I mean, I had to get the CPA exam. At our firm, you can be promoted to senior, but after senior, you can't be promoted upward if you don't have your CPA license. So for us, that's very important. Obviously, we're a CPA firm. So basically, whatever projects I was on, or whatever jobs I was given, I just tried to learn as much as possible, apply what I learned to one job to the next job. Every job is different. We train on the job all the time, but I try to apply my technical skills or what I learned or my mistakes from one project to the next. And that's how I think, with just hard work and the partners knowing just my technical skills were improving. If I had a question, I researched it myself before I went to go talk to like a manager or a partner. I've done, I think, fairly well with clients as well, as far as the customer service is concerned. So I think slowly with those technical skills and just proving that I can do the work, I was able to climb up the ladder to be manager. And within our firm, we really try to promote from within. So when we're doing recruiting out at Cal State, Bakersfield, or Fresno State, or Northridge, we really are looking for individuals that we see potential to move up the ladder. We don't just hire to just fill a void for 3 months or 4 months or 5 months. We really are looking for individuals that you're not going to be perfect as a staff accountant when you first start out of school, but that's what we like to do. Most of the people in our office, as far as the professionals are concerned, I think for except maybe 2 individuals, we've all started as either tax interns or staff accountants. So we promote from within. We rarely like to bring people at the mid-level. So we really are grooming people from below to basically move up the ladder. So we're not just filling a void. We really are looking for individuals, to work in the firm for a really long time. I think this is an interesting one. Have you ever dealt with clients that have committed fraud? If so, how is the situation resolved? This is from Oscar Gomez.
Yes, Daniel actually.
Oh, Oscar
That's okay.
Daniel. Oh, okay.
I made the same mistake the first day.
Okay. Okay, so not personally, not ourselves, like as far as the management level. We are picky with the clients that come to us that when they request for a proposal for fees or whatnot, if we felt, I mean, we have found clients that have had employees commit fraud at lower levels, and usually the clients are the ones that find that and bring it to us, and then they have us do like a bigger project out of it. But if we felt that the client themselves, like the management or owners, are committing fraud, we would report it to the board if they had a board, but at that point we would disengage from the client. But as far as I know, we haven't had to do that, so we're fairly selective of our clients, to be honest. So, the next one is Jessica Meneses.
This is Jessica here.
Okay. What has been the biggest benefit in staying with the same company for such a long amount of time? For me personally, Barbage Huber King is very family oriented. So for me, they've always been family comes first. If you don't take care of your family, your work is going to show. You're not going to be happy. So for the firm, for as long as I've been there, it's always been family first, and that obviously is the tone at the top. As a manager, because I've worked myself up, the flexibility really helps. So as you become manager, or you move up the ladder, you have that flexibility. So most people are 8 to 5 people, but I have a small child, so if he's sick or if he needs to be picked up early or whatnot, is what the firm believes in is that we're all adults. You know when you have to get your job done. You know what deadlines you have. If you walk through our office, we don't have any clocks on our walls. We do, if you're hourly, you do technically fill out a timesheet, but we're not like clocking in and clocking out. You came in at 8:01, you left at 5:01. So we treat everyone as adults. We feel that everyone knows what the responsibilities are. So that flexibility, honestly, is priceless at this level with a small child. But I've always liked the environment in our firm as far as being family oriented. So even though we have turnover over the years, it's always been the same tone from the top. So that's what I've appreciated. And I do like working with the clients that I currently have. Anna,
How she was actually raising her hand
never
before you
mind.
mentioned, so what a coincidence.
The flexibility? Oh yeah, for sure. For example, one of the other audit manager, he coaches 2 of his daughter's soccer teams. So he comes in at 7 and leaves at 4 during this time. I'm sure he's waiting for it to be completely over, but he comes in at 7 and he leaves at 4. So he's taken advantage of that. We have a few people that do like part-time schedules, but theirs is different. Where we have like one tax senior who works, like 8 to 1 o'clock every day and picks up her kids from school. So there are people that take advantage of it. It's just what you've decided is right for your career, and obviously discussing it with the partners. Oh, like advantage in the bad way? Honestly, I don't know that anyone's done it like in a negative manner. I mean, we do have some people here and there, but honestly, most of the time they don't end up lasting with us, not because we've let them go, but they don't end up liking what they do. So I would assume that if it was someone who was doing it negatively, that we would just discuss it with them if their work wasn't getting done. Because essentially, at the staff level, because you're hourly, you do have accrued vacation, like your hours do accumulate. But at the senior level, you don't have accrued time anymore. You basically are supposed to be allowed to take as much time off as possible getting the work done. But I would assume the HR manager would speak to that person.
Did you want to actually go to her question too? I thought it was a good one. I think you were about to mention it before she raised her hand.
Oh yeah, what was the most challenging project you have worked on, and what was different or special about this project? Honestly, besides some of the regular audits or work that I do, it's some of those projects that come in at the last minute where, for example, I've been there a long time, so I may not remember. Like I had a client who didn't realize that they were supposed to have an audit done for a pension plan, so I had to do four years worth of audit at one point in time, and that gets difficult because that's 4 years of data. Not all of it may be there. Another one was checking medical inventory supplies. Like one company was buying out another company, so I had to go and count the medical supplies that were on hand at the time. I mean, we do it all. I mean, I've counted cotton bales out in the middle of nowhere. We have people who do inventory observations for like almond holes, and it's just very interesting. It's not what everyone thinks. It's just sitting in a cubicle. I mean, that's maybe half the time, but it's pretty interesting items. I have someone in a few weeks that will be going out. This is probably one of my interesting ones when it first started. Is we take inventory of oil and gas products. So I've had to climb oil tanks and take inventory, like drop it's like a metal divot to the bottom to see if it was really oil or not. And this was done at like midnight in November. So, no one tells you these tanks that you have to climb and that you have to wear an ugly hard hat. So that was one of my more interesting ones when I first started as well. So yeah, I've been there so long. I've got a lot of them. So what was another one? How much more pressure? This is Yanita Reyes.
Yanita is right there.
How much more pressure is conducting audit accounting versus other types of accounting do you tend to negotiate often with clients? For audit, we don't necessarily negotiate with clients. I mean, if we find an error, if we find an exception, it's about materiality. Is it material? Why did it happen? How did the error come about? As far as negotiating with clients, I mean, it just depends on the service. If we're doing like bookkeeping or pensions, something other different, we might be as far as the types of services we're doing. As far as fees are concerned, I mean, our fees are our fees.
Yeah.
As far as that. But I mean, it might be one of those where if a partner decides, like for example, we do pro bono work, so we do nonprofits. So some of those we might do where the partner decides, okay, we're going to do half of it for free or whatnot. So, they can, but they do that at the partner level, to be honest. Sure.
With that, do you guys have to meet like some goals since like you guys get your clients?
We have to meet billable goals. So part of being in public accounting is you have to log your time in. So for us, I would probably say every 15-minute increments, we have to log our time in. So every 15 minutes, I have to record my time on our system as to which client I was working on to bill them. So we have billable goals at every level because essentially that is how we're going to continue in business. So at the staff level, there's X number of hours that are supposed to be billable and X number of hours that you're technically supposed to be there at the firm. And then it kind of decreases as you move up because essentially you're delegating to the staff. But yeah, we do have billable goals as far as every person in our firm has a billable goal, except for maybe the administrative group.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, because that's what my concern is. Like, since you are exempt, sometimes you would have to work extra few hours more in a client's audit.
Right.
So do you have like a minimum, like, okay, this is only the maximum that I will charge you. Whereas you could easily take advantage of the client and be like, well, I spent 10 hours doing your paperwork, it's not my fault.
Right. No, we have budgeted amounts. So before we got to, like for example, for an audit, we base it on what, we budget the hours and then there's a rate and then here's your budgeted amount for this audit. Yes, of course, like there could be someone not doing their job and just billing me for time that they didn't spend, but more than likely the work would show for it, that they didn't do the procedure or the project or whatnot. So, so for each client, there is a budgeted fee based on our experience with them, based on the hours, based on, rates do increase every year. So it's going to be 10 hours, but it's going to cost you a little bit more because our rates have gone up. So, but we try to be very reasonable with our clients as far as like the fees, because we do understand, obviously, they're dealing with costs just the way we are. So we do try to we are conscious of that. And obviously, if someone's taking too long on a job, we do discuss that with them because that determines whether, okay, should we be billing the client for 15 hours, not 10 hours? Because is their work really taking us that long? So yeah, on every project, we're evaluating budgets, hours, rates.
And this is my last question.
It's okay.
Do you see like the competition between other CPA forms, like if a client is like, well, I believe you're overcharging me
Oh,
Do
definitely.
you have a lot of client turnover?
We actually do not. Like I said, most of our clients have been around with us for a very long time. And yes, there are CPA firms locally that will try to underbid us. I mean, we have CPA firms that will cold call one of our clients and say we can do it cheaper than they can. So we know that that's going on. But for the most part, it's like you get what you pay for. If they're underbidding us, they could be buying the job. That's what we call buying the job. But our clients, for the most part, stay with us because of the client service and because we've had them for a long time. So a lot of our clients are conscious, obviously, of the fee, but I feel that we're fairly competitive with the top firms here locally. But we do have a little bit of that. But as far as I know, we've never lost a client because someone cold called them and said I can do it cheaper. So for the most part here in Bakersfield, there's a gentleman's agreement among the firms. We don't poach off of each other as far as clients or employees. If they come to us, if a client comes to us or potential client and says, I would like to get a proposal for you for fees, we can do that, but we don't go out to pull clients from other people or from other CPA firms. Yeah, there's kind of a gentleman's agreement. Yes, it's fair competition, but we don't purposely go poach clients. Good questions. Let me see if there's another one. Well, one I think I answered. Okay, so what motivates you from? This is Rachel Wayne.
Rachel's right there.
Okay, so what motivates you from CPA to auditor? Your sense of fulfillment, money, or others? Honestly, I think most people don't understand. They think you're like a bean counter, that you're in a cubicle, that's all you do. You push paper. Honestly, it's that sense of helping a client. Whether it's, I have clients that I may not see for another 6 months and they're calling me for, what do you think about this, or who should I call about that? So a lot of our clients, we're like kind of their trustees in the sense that they call us to say like, hey, who should I call about an insurance company, or what should I do about this, or even if it's just to guide them to the proper service provider, they usually call us first. So it's that sense of actually assisting a client and helping them, and it's a sense of relief for them because a lot of the times they don't know what they're dealing with, whether it's an employee benefit plan, when they're dealing with the Department of Labor, or they're dealing with their investment advisor. It's that sense of being able to help them, to be honest. And I think that's where I thought, I used to work in retail in high school, and I thought I was going to lose that sense of customer service, the one-on-one. And that's probably the most that I do in my everyday position right now, is just helping them, making sure that they're serviced, and that the job gets done, obviously, and that they're happy at the end of the day. So it might not be, when you're dealing with the audit that you're helping them, they'll call you throughout the whole year just asking for assistance or what should I do about this. So it's that sense that you're the first person that they call, to be honest, and that you can help them. I think those were kind of just the questions that I kind of saw off the top of my head. I don't know if anyone has specific questions or if you have any questions.
I picked some more, but I always like to.
Sure.
Jack, this is Jackie DeJohn, by the way.
I was just wondering, with your interview process, do you guys check transcripts since it's an accounting?
We do. We don't get official transcripts. I think we get unofficial transcripts, but we do look at that. Because a lot of the times, like, your resumes will have your overall GPA. We're looking specifically at the accounting classes. And even then, we'll ask you, like, if you had a bad grade or something, like, okay, well, what happened there? Because sometimes there are, legit reasons, like I had a death in the family or I had to drop out of school for a quarter, whatnot. So I feel that we're fair when it comes to that. I know that this year we dropped our GPA requirements at the Career Center because we end up interviewing people that are, fairly close to the 3.0 because we do feel like, okay, well, there may be a reason that you got that, low grade, or we can see that you took it again in the next quarter and got a better grade. So we do individually look at the classes, specifically accounting.
Do you guys also hire finance majors too, or just specifically accounting?
I think we've hired in the past economics majors. I don't know about finance, I'll be honest. We may have had one or two that had like a finance degree, but we're not specifically looking, obviously, for those. And they don't always come to us either. It's always been like during an off season. But and it also depends like on the school. Like we have a tax manager who is actually an economics major, I believe, with like a minor in accounting or something like that, and he came from Cal Poly, so that was just the degree that he was able to get. I don't know if he wasn't able to get an accounting degree, so we do pick them up, but it's just kind of on a case-by-case basis.
Other questions? I have some that I picked out,
Sure.
but I'd like for you guys to volunteer first. Who else has a question? Richard.
Once you're certified, are you certified for life or you
No, you have to take continuing education. So so your license, the first year it's prorated based off when you pass and your license expires. But they expire every 2 years and you have to take 80 hours of CPE. So that's one of the things that the firm pays for is the continuing education. And depending on whether you do audit or tax, like for tax, it's mostly technical classes, related to tax. For A&A, I have to take a fraud class. We all have to take ethics. I have to take a fraud class because I do local governments. I have to do 16 hours of local governments because I do employee benefit plans. I have to take 8 hours of that. So it depends which department you're going. But in our firm, even though you're not licensed, we still require our staff to do 40 hours of continuing education every year as part of kind of our internal quality control. But it's 80 hours every 2 years until you're out of practice. So you can't put that CPA next to your name if you haven't done your CPE. So even though, like, let's say you got your license and you didn't get your 80 hours for whatever reason, you would be qualified as an inactive CPA. And if you were to present yourself as a CPA without notifying your client you're inactive or it's not been renewed, you can get your license taken away. So it's a big deal. Once you get it, you want to keep it.
One quick. I want to make sure. Do you have a certain time you need to get out of here?
No, I'm fine.
Are you okay?
This is my
Okay,
administrative work,
cool.
so.
This is. I get several more
I
than I
just
wanted
didn't want
to
to
get
make
to.
sure, like, I
No.
over your
We
class.
just have a few announcements and
Okay.
one example to go over on the board, so it's not going to take very long.
Perfect.
The longer you can stay, the more beneficial it is to everybody. So, sorry to interrupt you. Nira, go ahead.
How many hours do you typically work a week?
Honestly, like right now, I just finished kind of a busy season, so I might do like 40 to 45, which is still not bad, honestly. When you start off as a staff person, like when you're an intern or a staff person, there is an expected overtime amount during tax. People call it tax season, but I call it busy season. During February through April, those are expected to be between. I think the maximum is like 55 to 60 hours. If we say okay, you need to work 60 hours, it'd be 55 billable. With the expectation that you're not always billable. But that's during tax season, so that's like 3 months out of the year. After that, as a staff person, it's pretty much 8 to 5. You may have a few of those projects like inventory observations or something where you might have to do something on a Saturday for a few hours, but obviously if you're doing 4 hours on Saturday, you may not do those 4 hours during the week. So it kind of balances itself out, but for the most part, it's other than busy season, it's a 40-hour week. There are expected times where you might be expected to do a little overtime depending on a project. Sometimes the client is late with information or there's a deadline or something to that effect. So, there may be an hour or two, but for the most part, it's just during that really concentrated, busy time.
I'm going to jump in. Like, I want other people to volunteer, but there's a couple I wanted to make sure we get to.
Okay, sure.
One is a kind of more general question, but I forgot. John Hawkins, I tried to mention everybody that's somehow tangentially interested in your industry. John's actually interested in management consulting. So I came from a consulting background. So I was at PricewaterhouseCoopers and then PricewaterhouseCoopers, but I was on the consulting side. So I'm very familiar with the concept of billable hours.
Right.
But I wanted to make sure to mention John and kind of loop him in a little bit. And his question was more general. It was, do you attribute your success to the education you got here at Cal State?
It definitely does help because obviously it's the foundation. Honestly, when we go out to hire for staff positions or intern positions, we really don't expect you to know much, I'll be honest, because it is a lot of on-the-job training.
Great.
We expect we expect the school to give you the foundation and for you to have learned that foundation to know the difference between a debit and credit, but we're giving you on-the-job training. I mean, that's more than half of my other side of the job is on every project, because you might know about internal control or inherent risk or whatnot, but to apply that to an actual job, that's what our job is there to do, is to help you. But yeah, I mean, it does help obviously if you've learned something from your classes, but for us personally, it's a lot of on-the-job training.
I wish more organizations internalize their employees, you know, in that way.
Right, because I think that's where if, we can tell when a student has grasped the concept, that you're basically teachable, that we can say, okay, remember that on this project, you applied this concept, okay, now apply it to this project, which is a completely different client. But that's whether it's tax or A&A, that's what we're constantly doing. It's just teaching, you get a project, and our policy is an open door policy where we basically, here's the project, I'm giving you the instructions, go for it. We do expect students to be self-starters, to, okay, dive in, try to figure it out, but after a while to continue to ask questions. I think we prefer that when you first start off as a job, at least for our profession or our firm, is that we expect you to ask questions. When you don't ask questions is when we know that you're just spinning your wheels there.
Sure.
So we will go and say, like, hey, are you sure you don't have any questions? Because we know, because we start everyone from the bottom, we all know what that feels like to start at the bottom. So we all know what you're going through, which is the great part about, promoting from within, is we've all been in those shoes at one point or another. So it's a lot of on-the-job training. So we expect you to know the minimum, but it really is, we're teaching you our way on our jobs. So
Cool. Different question. Lily, I thought, brought up a question too. Lily, can you raise your hand? Lily's also one of our accounting-focused students. And do you remember your question, or should I read it off? Have you had any difficult clients who did not want to cooperate or provide information that you needed for an audit? If so, how did you handle those situations? And I think actually, to try and mention as many students' names as I can, Nellie actually had a similar question, which was, have you ever had a client that purposefully made auditing difficult for you?
Well, at least I don't think it was on purpose. I mean, you have clients that, when you're going out to their job site, they have their own jobs to do at the same time as well. So we schedule a time that fits our schedule as well as theirs. I know that sometimes, our clients may take a little bit long to get us information or whatnot, but not that I know of on purpose in a negative way. It's more of, they have their own job requirements at their job and deadlines of their own. So they may take a little bit longer than what we expect them, or they didn't meet deadlines of when they're supposed to have things to us. But at that point, it's where we might have to go a level above them. So if we're dealing with, like, let's say the controller, at that point we might have to, sit down and discuss it with them and bring in an owner or higher management. But for the most part, I don't think that we've purposely had anyone just not want to give us information. If not, then we wouldn't have them as a client.
Sure, it's good to hear. I can't say that was always the case for some of the consulting projects we did.
Right.
We did it was an interesting, tense environment. After Marion Barry, got convicted of, smoking crack in a hotel room and then, going to jail when he was the mayor of D.C. and then got reelected after he got back out of jail. The Republican-controlled Congress stripped away all the home rule powers from the D.C. city government and hired us, among other agencies, to go out and do complete management reviews of each of the departments of city government. So we, at that time, PW and a coalition of other smaller firms did the project for the D.C. Department of Housing and Community Development. And we ended up cutting. We ended up, like they're so nice, you know. I mean, you
Right.
got people who are passionate about what they do.
Right.
There's a tremendous amount of graft, like that. Basically, over the course of time, Marion, like a friend here needs a job, a friend here needs a
Right.
job, and the department ballooned into like 150 people when
It really should.
all they're there for is to pass through HUD money to the
To the
community.
next level.
And they were passing through like 50%. The benchmark of other agencies is like 80 or 90. So we were not welcome there.
Right.
But so it's good to hear that you don't face that
Right.
very often.
I mean, sometimes you might have, like, for example, I mean, I don't know that we've, at least for myself, have been hired specifically to do a project of that sort, but I know that firms can be hired to do, like, fraud audits. So if they think, like, one of their employees has committed fraud or management level, you as a firm can come in. So that might be a little bit of, you know, negative on one side versus the other, but I myself have not been involved in anything of that sort.
More general question from, whose question was this? Nancy Cabrera. Why did you decide to stay local? I think that's a nice question in general about the Bakersfield community.
No, definitely. I think when I started school, I started on the younger side. I was still like 17 when I graduated high school. That's when they allowed like any 5-year-old to go into kinder. So I was like, I feel fairly young. I was still very family connected. So honestly, growing up in Delano, like Bakersfield was the big city to me. So that was a big step for me, being just very family oriented and really not knowing what I wanted to do at such a young age. So for me, Bakersfield was the big city. And staying close to my family was very important for me personally. I know a lot of people do end up leaving or say, you know, I want to get out of Bakersfield or whatnot, but honestly, I feel that a lot of the people that I've known that have, you know, wanted to get out of Bakersfield to come back home because it is a great place to honestly raise a family, and the cost of living is amazing. I mean, I was able to purchase my first home I think I was a senior, single, and I was able to purchase you know, a decent sized home in the Northwest area. So the cost of living, as you grow a little bit older, you realize, okay, there are other positives besides being close to home. But it's a big city with still that small town feel. People still know each other. You know, you can't just, when you go to the store, you'll come across someone you know, a client you know, family, friends. So it still has that small family feel, even though it's, you know, it's grown in the last couple of years, over the last 10 to 20 years. So that's why I stayed local.
Cool. Another question in a different direction. Nathan had asked, as an accounting corporation, how does BHK, do you guys still do Barbara Cooper King and Jill Hoffman don't get mentioned all the time? Or,
yes.
That poor Mr. Lybrand and his like heirs and family eventually got the short end of that when we merged with Cooper's.
Yeah, that was kind of, our logo is BHK, but our name is still Hoffman.
Yeah, I figured so. So he mentioned, as an accounting corporation, how does BHK differentiate itself from competitors? And every time I talk with people about financial services or accounting, I mean, the nature, there's a lot of accounting firms out there.
Right.
And it's really important to differentiate yourself, but really hard to do because it's somewhat of a commoditized service.
Accounting is a service here and there. I think what's different about us is that we are local. Most of our clients are local. We are very family oriented. Family does come first for us. We are one of the larger three, but like, for example, I know that like Brown Armstrong, they travel a lot because they do a lot of governments. We don't do a lot of travel. I think like CBIZ is a little bit more associated nationally, so if you wanted to go elsewhere outside of Bakersfield, that might be the place to be. As far as our firm as well, not only are we family oriented, but we pride ourselves in the customer service, and we've been around for a really long time, like I said, close to 40 years. But I also think that, you know, that our best interest is in the client. You know, its client comes, beside us employees being family first, the client comes next as far as servicing the client. You know, we allow, it's, like I said earlier, your career is in your hands. We don't give you a step schedule of, you know, you should be a senior by this, you should be, you know, you'll be promised this. We're not a government in that sense. So it really is that the career is in your hands. You make it what you want to make it. You know, you go as far as you want to go. We don't dictate that. You do. So I think it's that sense of just kind of family and customer service, as far as being different from not to say that the other firms don't provide that, but because we have been local for so long, all the partners are fairly well connected. Anywhere you go, you know, whether it's a Lou Barbage or Jeff King, I know, I think Jeff King and Mike Cooper were in the first graduating class at Cal State Bakersfield, if I'm
Really?
not mistaken. So you'll see, you know, we support Cal State Bakersfield a lot, so you'll see our signs kind of at the baseball field, I believe, maybe at the soccer field as well. So I can't say that, you know, like you said, the service is the service. It's just, I think, the personalized service that we provide to each of our customers. I think I mentioned before, we don't really have a client turnover rate as far as that's concerned. They don't just leave us just because, you know. So I think that proves some of our service and what we stand for. Of course, we have a little bit of employee turnover, just like any other company. But the times that we have had employee turnover, it's because they go to one of our clients, because our clients take them away from us, or they go to private accounting. They just don't want to do public anymore. Or they move out of the area. So we don't have our employees jumping to other CPA firms, I feel. So I think that shows a lot as well. But it really is that you know, the client does come first after the employee's well-being. So I think that is a little bit different from some of the other firms, at least from my perspective. And I actually sit on the Cal CPA board, the Bakersfield chapter. I'm actually the board president this year. You know, so on our board from I think we have maybe like 6, 7, 8 of us, plus committee members. They're all from all the different CPA firms, and I mean, they're nice people, you know, that we all get along, but I think it's that personalized service that we give our clients that kind of makes us a little bit different, in my perspective. Obviously, each one of us is going to think we're the best. So.
Sure. I've been trying to kind of sample different types of questions, and Maddie had a good one as well that I don't think we've addressed yet. And it was, do you remember it? Or should I read it out? Okay. What are some of the largest pitfalls you've seen businesses fall into, and what are the best ways to avoid them? So when you're looking at problems that your clients
Right.
have as businesses.
Honestly, because I do mostly audits, I mean, I do some reviews, it's probably the internal control system. It's a lot of, some of the businesses we deal with are, you know, really big companies, some are smaller companies, and so I think it's that trust in individuals that they have where they forget about those internal controls. So, like, for example, I might have a nonprofit that, you know, we have one bookkeeper and she does everything. You know, she does the cash disbursements, the cash receipts, she writes checks, she does everything. So it's not about trusting the person, it's about having those safeguards around that person, you know, to have another person look at their work, or having a board member look at their work, or having the executive director. So I feel it's the internal control system just in general, because they either don't understand the importance of those segregation of duties, or the importance of having another set of eyes looking at the books, that some of those businesses fall into those pitfalls, whether it's fraud or errors. And obviously that's job security for a CPA firm, because we go in and clean it up, or we go in and do the books. But to be honest, it's probably just the control systems in general for some of the smaller companies. The larger companies do understand that, but it's putting that importance on that side of it, of the company. Or, you know, because sometimes they'll have someone who doesn't have an accounting background, and there's a lot of errors in the books, and then we go in and clean it up. But like I said, I mean, if we can help out a client by saying, okay, you probably need to have other safeguards, or you probably need to have someone with an accounting background in here to save yourself money, I mean, that's what we'll suggest. So it's probably just the control systems in general, having to do with accounting, with money, with the fact that there's fraud and errors.
Other questions? I have a couple more that I wanted to pick, but I don't want me to keep picking them. Somebody else chime in that hasn't had your question answered yet. Come on, folks, don't be shy.
They probably don't remember.
Huh? Well, you can ask a new question too. Okay, I will go back to putting people on. Go. Do you want to pick
No,
one?
no,
or-
no. I was just gonna
I-
read through them.
There's a couple that like I wanted to make sure that we get to all of the accounting focused students and the banking focused students. So Natasha had asked a question that I think you've in some ways addressed, and maybe we can like reiterate it. And then there's also a question that Esperanza asked that I think is like different but related. So Esperanza had asked, how did you decide you wanted to do audit rather than tax? And Natasha asked, do you remember your question? You don't? What kind of skills should an auditor have?
Okay.
So
Why did I go into audit versus tax? So when I first started at BHK, I started in the summer, and so that's normally more audit work to begin with. So at that time, like now we're currently paperless, so we don't have to travel as much sometimes. I really liked being out in the field with clients, dealing with, you're not only just working within the firm, you're going out to different clients' offices, looking at their environment, dealing with different people. So that's initially what I thought, auditing was about. You still do that on the tax side as far as, customer service, the client service, dealing with the clients, but you may not be out as much on field work as you are on audit. So I preferred audit just in that sense because it was dealing with people more on one-to-one basis, like face-to-face. You still do that in tax, but maybe not to the same degree. When I first started, like I was at a job in Paso Robles, like for 3 weeks at a time, because I don't know if we had email back then. So
tough life.
Right, maybe a little bit. So I liked a lot of that, of just being at a different office, dealing with different people. That started me off in audit. So that when I came back to the office and started working on taxes in January, I didn't feel as competent in tax anymore because I'd kind of forgotten a little bit of my tax skills from school. So that was one of the reasons. It was like I just felt more comfortable with audit, but I liked the field work aspect of it, and just the fact that it's not the tax IRS regulations that are changing all the time. So I mean, our audit standards do change as well. We have to keep up on those, but maybe not as often as the tax regulations go. So just my personality fit better with audits. And as far as like just the skills, I don't know that there's anything specifically as far as the skills are concerned. I mean, you have to be able to talk to clients, to communicate your question, to be able to ask the question so that the client understands or that your manager understands as well. I think with any accounting field, you have to be detail oriented as far as the work that you're doing. We base a lot of our work on materiality, whether it's a large number or a small number. So being detail oriented as well, and just being able to communicate your thoughts to the manager or the client as well is probably important as well. But being able to communicate, I think, just being all well-rounded in that sense is probably a good thing for most of our staff once we start taking them out.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to pull in 3 final questions from our banking students. Jeff had asked, is there a particular service that you guys provide within the broader context of audit or anything else that you think is more important for clients or more important for the core business of Barbara Cooper King than other services?
I don't think so. I mean, I think for the most part, because we're known for audit and accounting, it just depends on what type of service they're looking for. So we are like 40% tax, maybe 30% A&A, and then the middle part is bookkeeping and pension administration. So I don't know that there's one particular service, and honestly, some of that doesn't even fall within those groups. It could be consulting. To be honest, we don't really keep track of that, but like I said, most of our clients will call us just to say, hey, who do you think I should use for insurance, or who would you recommend, or what should I do about this? So that little piece of it that we really don't track as a service, I feel is a lot of kind of the back end of what we do for clients. It doesn't necessarily translate into, okay, it's auditing work, it's bookkeeping. It's all that kind of behind the scenes consulting stuff that we do with the clients. I feel that is important because then they know which direction to go into, or for example, a lot of our audits, because of our professional standards, we cannot help a client basically clean up their own books. So we may provide a referral to one of the other smaller CPA firms that just does bookkeeping or that does cleanup work in that sense. So then now we've provided our client with, this is someone we trust to do the work for you on this sense before we can touch it. So it's that kind of back end items that I think are important, that we just don't keep track of the dollars.
Cool, good answer. 2 more questions. One was from Anthony, and his was kind of a more practical one in some ways. If a discrepancy is found in an audit, can the company fix it? And if so, how much time do they have to do that?
Well, usually by the time we're doing the audit, it's past the year that we're auditing. So like, for example, I'm out an audit, I mean, we're in November and we're doing an audit for a year end of June 30th, 2015. So we don't do like, I'm an auditor, but I don't do like IRS audits. So we're doing financial statement audits. So if we find an error, like let's say, for example, if we're doing compliance testing, meaning looking at their control system, we bring it to their attention. We do write up a letter. It's up to their discretion to fix the issue, but it's after the fact, because now the sooner the better, because obviously that affects next year's audit. So there isn't necessarily a time frame as far as, okay, you have 2 weeks, you have 3 weeks, you have 4 weeks. It's to their benefit to fix the issue as soon as possible, so that when we come back for the next year's audit, it's not an issue for 6 months. It's just been an issue for 2 months or 3 months. So it just depends on what the error is, whether it's compliance testing, which is with the internal control system, or whether it's, okay, I forgot to add this vehicle to my property and equipment schedule, which is just done through journal entries and whatnot. So it just depends what kind of issue we have with them. I know that, for example, we don't do school districts, but I know, like, for example, school district audits, they might have more time-sensitive issues of fixing problems with their tests by the time that the audit is done. So it just depends the type of audit that you're on. But for us, we don't have anything particular where we have a time frame, because it's up to the client to basically fix it.
Did I answer your question? And then the final question that I want to make sure, we have a lot of student questions we didn't get to, but I wanted to make sure for the ones whose career interests are more directly in line that we got to them. And the last one is Maria. It's a kind of a more broad question I thought would be interesting for you to end on. What would you say is the most difficult part of your job?
The most difficult part? Probably some days just multitasking at the manager level. Wanting to get done everything on my to-do list for the day. But I mean, at my level, I'm doing, recruiting. So we've been out doing recruiting for the last few weeks. I serve on the Cal CPA as a board president, so I'm dealing with some of those, although I do enjoy it. I think for myself is trying to get it all done in a day, giving myself that time to, okay, it doesn't have to be done today, it can be done tomorrow. And then just doing my regular stuff, my regular work, because like I said, we do train individuals, so it might be I have different projects out, with staff, trying to assist them and train them, do recruiting. So it's just sometimes a multitasking, like, okay, my to-do list is not all going to get done in one day. So it's that part of it. And that's the part where you as an accounting student might not realize that, being a CPA entails all these different items. As you move up, you want to start networking, getting to know other individuals, bringing businesses in, even if it's meeting with other local CPA firms, other professionals, other colleagues can give you work as well. So it's just trying to get through my to-do list every day, but it's just the multitasking on any particular day sometimes becomes difficult. But I think that's with any job, to be honest.
It is, but it's nice to hear that, like, underlined, no matter what the profession. I have the same challenge in what I do.
Right, exactly. And I think that's where part of the firm is that whole work-life balance. You hear it every day. You see it in articles. I think that's what the firm, lets you decide what is your work-life balance. I had children at a later point in life, where it was like, okay, I need to scale back to take care of, my child. He's 4 now, so. but I also wanted to do the Cal CPA, got involved with that. So it's just finding that work-life balance of what's acceptable to you and what you like to do, because it shouldn't be all about work all the time. You know, as a staff person, you might put in those extra hours or do a little bit more work, but we don't want you working 7 days a week, 24 hours. You know, during busy season, we actually do cap off. I think we cap off at, you know, some people were trying to do a lot of hours because obviously you get paid for them, but we cap off how many hours you can work in a day. So even though the work is there, at some point you don't function. You know, when you're tired, when you're not happy at home. So we do realize and we do know that is important. So it's a matter of where you find that balance and what you would like to do, but we do cap off what people can work in the firm, because after 7 days, you just don't function, to be honest. Your work shows it. So I think we had one staff person try to do it for 1 week, and like he passed out like on Friday at home, where like he didn't wake up until the next day, because, you know, it's like he was trying to do like the most hours for that week, and it's like it just doesn't happen. You know, you give out at a certain point in time, and we realize that, and we tell staff you can only work this many hours in a week. You cannot do more. It's a no-no.
Yeah, I totally understand.
Right.
As much as I like put a lot of workload on myself for the
Right.
students of, okay, I'm going to get this feedback to you, I'm going to get these markups to you by this date. At a certain point, at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday, I just got to watch an episode of Game of Thrones. I can't do any more work. I need like an hour of like brain downtime.
Right, and I think that's where your body will tell you, you know, with me, like, for example, when I first became a first-year mom, that was difficult for me to transition from being able to work whenever I wanted to, okay, I need to scale back to these hours because, you know, my baby needs me at this time. So what I would do, and I can't do this anymore, I would wait until he would fall asleep and then work for a few hours if there was something extra I needed to do, or if, for us, because we're paperless, our software, basically, I can take my computer home, just the same way I can go out to field work for a client. I take my computer home, my work is on my computer, I can work from home. So for the most part, if he was sick or I needed to work just a few hours, I would do it after he would fall asleep. Now I can't do that. I fall asleep with him. So it's just a matter of what you want to do with your life. Some people, that's how they function. They need to be on the go all the time. I need my beauty rest, So yeah, I think the older you get, sometimes the more you realize, okay, I need to step back, take my sleep, or the work can wait. I mean, it's the clients don't put the deadlines on you. You do that to yourself. So.
Totally.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions that I didn't get to that you want to make sure to speak up on? Okay, let me actually segue into an announcement quick. So I don't know whether I should give away the great and all powerful Wizard of Oz secrets or not, but I've found over the course of the years teaching that if points are attached to something, students do it. If points aren't attached to it, they don't do it.
Right.
So one of the reasons that you got such good questions is because I require it.
That's what I thought.
And another thing that is new for the students now, and I wanted to let you know as well, I always do thank you statements afterwards too. So for your benefit, the same link you clicked on to look at the questions, there's now another column that says thank yous.
Okay.
And it's not filled out yet because I just put the column there. But for everybody in here, let's see, how many? We had 8 guest speakers, so it was 40, 28. So each, is that right? Yeah. So each guest speaker, if you go in and write up a thank you, something specific about their talk that you enjoyed, you go to the same link that you went to write up your questions. I'll give you 2.5 points extra credit for each speaker. Got it? And that's got to be done by the end of the quarter. So if you keep checking your link
Right.
over the next 3 weeks, you'll see like thank yous pop
They
up.
come up.
And you can't, please do not write a thank you before the speaker has spoken, because that'll kind of look disingenuous,
I'm gonna
okay?
go check right now. And I think I would advise, just because I am on the Cal CPA board, when I first started in school, I didn't do anything. I didn't, I really was, I think, too young, where I didn't realize I should be looking for an internship. I should be doing this. The local Cal CPA chapter has a Young and Emerging Professionals group, and it's called the YEP. And I think most of the time we encourage the accounting students to belong to the group. It's free membership. The YEP group meets once a month. They'll do socials at Imbibe, socials at the Padre, and that's all they are. They're socials. But I would encourage you guys that whatever your profession is, whether it's accounting, whether it's banking, whatnot, to seek out the local, young professionals groups, because those will be the people that you'll network with eventually. So even though you might think, oh, I'm an accounting student, we're competing against each other. It's like, yes and no, you're competing for the spots at the accounting firms, but eventually you guys in 10 years will be in your own profession, whether it's a CPA firm at a private firm as well. She might need services from her as a CPA when she went into private. So just keep that in mind, that all the connections you make now will eventually help you out in the future in your career. Even though you think you're in competition, yes, but those are also the connections in the future that will help you out in your profession as well. So I would encourage you guys to, to do as many of those types of items as possible, because, for example, for the Cal CPA, we have those socials, and we encourage students to join, which is a free membership. And so some of these students I've met over the last few months at the local YEP events. So when it comes to interview time, you're a little bit more comfortable in the interview process, or it might get your foot in the door where it's like, oh, hey, I recognize this person. I do want to interview them because I've met them a couple times. I like their personality. I like, now I just need to look at their transcript. So even if it's just that, to get your foot in the door, to meet professionals that here in Bakersfield, like I said, it's a very small town. So you'll get to meet some of the professionals, partners, for us, the CPA firms, So there are real estate young professionals groups. I think there's a local just young professionals group that I just found out about. So, do that kind of networking stuff now. Don't wait to do it when you have a job, because you never know where that connection will take you to, whether it's just, like I said, a foot in the door, an interview. Might not get you the job, because obviously you still have to, perform, have good grades and whatnot, but, resume doesn't tell it all. A 4.0 doesn't necessarily get you that job over a 3.5 person. So just make sure you're networking at this level as well. It may not seem important, but I think that would be my one advice as well.
Cool. So let's everybody give Daniera a big round of applause. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. It's awesome to have people locally come in.
Oh, no, not a problem. If you guys need anybody else from other firms as well, like I said, we have that Cal CPA connection, or other people from our firm that might do tax or something different.
I will be in touch again.
Yeah, no.
And as far as your parking goes, did you have to pay like $5 for a parking pass?
No, my coworker gave me quarters to use the parking meter.
Okay, so
she told me it was cheaper, so I used $1
I don't know
maybe.
if it is well, maybe it is.
I think she said it was $6 for a day. And
it used to be $5. Maybe they raised it $1.
No, I just used $1 quarters.
Yeah, most of my speakers, since I'm not from here originally, are on Skype, so I'm just starting to realize the logistics of, well, crap, I gotta make sure I reimburse everybody. So
no,
you're okay?
Fine. Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm fine.
Cool.
No, usually you can go through the business school, and they'll give you a code to type in to give you that permit for the parking.
I have to actually, I got 2 people coming in face to face on next Monday, so I'll check with our admin later and see if I can give them the code. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome. I've been here before. So thank you, everyone. And if anyone has questions or anything or something that didn't make sense, feel free to send me a question through LinkedIn, or if you have my email. I have no problems answering questions. So. Cool. I know that I didn't do any of this stuff, so it would greatly.
Well, for the benefit of my future students, I'll definitely be in touch.
Yeah.
And anybody here, the invitation's out there. if you have a question that didn't get answered or something comes up later that you think Danira could give you good advice about,
Yeah,
please feel free to contact her.
At least for the CPA firms in town, we're very well connected with the campus because obviously this is our prime recruiting school. So any of the CPA firms here locally are more than happy to answer questions, or through the Cal CPA, we try to do events with the UAA as well. So even if you contact one of your UAA members, they have connections to us as well. So it's still that very small town. Businesses are very interested in Cal State Bakersfield, so you can find anyone you want
Cool.
to speak. So yeah, just let me know and I can get you another professional.
I will do that. Thank you so much
It
for
was
coming
nice
in.
meeting
Have a
you, Joe.
great rest of the
Thank you,
week.
everybody. Oh, yeah. Be careful out there. It's super dusty.
Take care. Okay, so I got just a few announcements to go through and one final discussion example, and we're done for the day. Not quite for the year yet, although it's quickly approaching. I think this is, that's warming up now. So a couple other announcements. This is a little bit ahead of time, but some of you know, I think I mentioned before, some of you don't, I usually do a class party at the end of the quarter. So since this is in the middle of the day, and I then have I have my small business management class from 5:15 to 7:20 in the evening. What I think I'll probably do is invite both classes over to Lengthwise after the second class. And I'll probably bring in some pizza or whatever for here too. I mean, some people are able to come in the evening, some people aren't. So I'll bring in some food for the last class session, and then that evening I'll let you know the details, and we'll probably go over to. I can't buy drinks for you, but I can buy appetizers. So I'll buy a few rounds of appetizers, and we can hang out afterwards. So that'll be coming up on the 18th after our final class session in the evening. And then originally the syllabus had hands-on case analysis or Globus time in there. Because I have so many guest speakers, I've pretty much gobbled up that time scheduling guest speakers. So sometimes they'll take the whole class session, sometimes they won't. So obviously, as soon as I get done with the comments right now, the rest of the time until 2:50, I'm available for one-on-one conversations about any questions you have about your case analyses or about Globus. And then same thing for the following class sessions. So we're not really going to have in-class one-on-one time because of all the speakers. However, as soon as we get done with the allotted stuff for each day, or if you want to come to my office hours, I'm happy to help each person one-on-one with any questions you have about either Globus or about your case analysis or anything else about career development. So segueing there, I almost met my goal of having all of the LinkedIn profiles and professional development plans done by the beginning of November. I switched again to important instead of urgent. So last weekend, so you guys, I did the LinkedIn profiles first, and then I did all of the markups for my small business management class, Management 345. Their LinkedIn edits and their professional development plan follow-up assignments are worth a lot more points in their overall grade than yours are. So I am almost halfway through doing markups on your professional development plans. I've got 17 down and 28 to go, and the other class is already done. So I'm 7/8 of the way there to the goal. I should have the rest of that done this week. The follow-up assignments, that you'll have for your professional development plan are things like, this wasn't clear to me about your budget. Please put together some budget figures and send back to me so I can see that you're on top of things. Or reach out to make a list of 10 job prospects that you want to apply to and tell me what you're going to do next. Okay, I already applied for this one. Not going to apply yet because it's a conflict with my current job, but I'm thinking about it for 3 months from now. It's just putting together a list or whatever, and you can do that anytime before the 25th. That's worth the other 30 points in your professional development. Actually, no, it's not even 30. I think it'd be 20 because you've got the it's like 10 each. So 10 for the LinkedIn ads. It's not very much for you guys point wise, so I'm not quite done with the markups on your professional development plans, but they'll be done soon. Okay? Just wanted to give you a heads up on that. I also wanted to give you a heads up that I have one example to go through today for markups on the summary section of the case papers. I also, as you noticed, did not get caught up on my markups last Tuesday. Tomorrow I have nothing else to do except work on things for my manage projects for the small business management class and finish your guys' markups. So they will be done soon. Basically, as you all know, all you need to do is make the edits that I suggested and then turn in the edited copy. That's what you have to do for your final case paper. So hopefully by the end of this coming weekend, you'll have everything else back from me that you need, which gives you basically 2.5 weeks to make any final edits before I turn in things at the end of the quarter. Okay? I will work as fast as I can to get that back to you soon. Next announcement. Let's see here. 2 more things, and then I'll go into my lecture for the day, brief lecture. I sent out an email about this, but I didn't get anybody that responded. We have a small business here in town that really needs some help with QuickBooks. So I theoretically could dive in and start helping them with it myself, but I'm a little busy doing, if I do that, then I'm not going to get done with my markups for your grades and stuff like that. So anybody in here, accounting students in particular, so Rachel, Esperanza, Lily, Natasha, anybody who has some experience working with QuickBooks and would like to work on a bit of project work, it doesn't have to be long term. It certainly opens a door with the firm if you're interested in working with them more, but it is paid hourly work, and we need somebody to do some QuickBooks consulting work over the coming weeks with a small business here in town. I'm looking for somebody that could do the work. So anybody who's interested, please see me after class. I want to be able to close the loop with them and say, hey, I found somebody that is interested and available. Okay, so there's that. And then finally, there's 7 out of the 11 groups that are at 100% of investor expectations or above in year 10. I don't think I've ever had that many groups do well. There's some groups that are not doing so well, especially Group A. You guys kind of went in the tank this year. If you notice on the, actually let me pull up Blackboard. Actually, it's going to take too much time. If you guys looked at the syllabus, you'll notice that there's no Globus discussion listed for the last 3 years of the game. I'm happy. So I'm not going to spend class time overall as a group talking about Globus those last 3 weeks, but I am available to meet with groups one-on-one if you have questions. So Team A, if you'd like some help on what went wrong, I'm happy to talk with you guys one-on-one, but I'm not going to do it.
You noticed that too?
What?
Something went a little haywire there.
Yeah, you lost money on every camera you sold.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I can, rather than doing that in front of the whole group, I'm happy to help you guys, but it'll be after class during my office hours, okay? Cool. That'll work. Till Wednesday? Cool. Okay, so that's it for announcements. Any questions about all that? Okay, let me go through my one example for the day, and then we're done. Oh, crap, I forgot. I need to stand. I'm still working on being able to, that was fine when De Niro was standing there, but I can't see me now on the camera. Hang on. That's not bad. Okay. So I went through and did one example for class today. Unfortunately, I'm running behind on the markups, but like I said, you guys will have my markups by the end of this week, and then you can ask me any questions that are not clear. So I've tried to do one example from everybody at some point over the course, one example from each like industry over the course of the quarter. So the ones that are left are consulting, and I don't actually have John's summary section, so I can't do that one. I have not done brewing yet, but I got Nathan's late last night, so I may or may not be able to go over it in front of us. And then construction, so landscaping, I did do. So Haley, you are the lucky example for the day, and I haven't used your paper as an example yet, so that'll be the one we focus on today. So going through here, I made some little grammatical edits that you can't see on the screen here, but you'll be able to see in the version that I emailed to you. Just little stuff about inserting a word that actually should be a space there. Inserting some words, changing a little bit, small stuff about grammar. And for everybody in here, when you're done, please, I'll try and catch whatever I can, but please, read through your summary section again. Make sure that, grammatically things are clear. There's no spelling errors. The sentence structure hangs together. These 2 pages, in the ideal world, someone like Danira, when you're talking with them, interviewing, networking, would see a link to this document in your LinkedIn profile, example of work product, and then they really only end up reading the first page or 2. They're too busy to do anything else. So what you write here should really appear polished. So a couple small things there, Haley. Basically everything's fine. I would like you, so if people look through here, basically I like what you did about basically saying that the most important issue in your opinion is these larger companies growing their revenues in either maintenance or residential work. So you then gave an example of what Valleycrest is doing right now. I'd like, for balance in the structure, I'd like one more sentence saying something that True Green is doing right now, or not doing, that you suggest that they do if you can't find anything they are doing. Otherwise, I think it's fine. Business model, other than the few small grammatical things, it's fine. The thing here as an example that Haley did that I liked was just saying, basically, both companies need to expand their value proposition to target another market. It's kind of a similar to what was said in the summary section. For managerial execution, that's fine. I like how you focused on the fact that one company basically has better recruiting procedures than the other. If you're going to mention this last sentence about focusing on rewards to increase morale and satisfaction for Valleycrest, you should also make a statement suggesting that True Green should do something, to have it balanced. Otherwise, I think it looks fine. And if you wanted, you could just take out that sentence because you've already made your point with the first 2 sentences. And then corporate responsibility measures. I like basically you focused on some of the stuff that each company is doing now to try and minimize the impact that they have with the chemicals they use. So great, and you basically just suggested I think they should continue or expand with these activities. That's exactly the kind of thing that I want everybody to do. You could also talk about a certain charity they donate to, or you could talk about a lawsuit that's been particularly problematic and they should make sure to avoid that kind of problem in the future. One of those 3, and Haley, I like what you did there, so that's fine. For driving forces, basically there's 3 issues. One of them I think was the chemicals. One was the drought, and I can't remember what the third driving force was, but Haley picked the drought, obviously acutely important here in this part of the country. Great job. Just pick one of the driving forces in your chart and talk about what the company should do to deal with it, and because it's important. So that was good there. Porter's 5 forces. I like how you picked one particular of the 5 forces that seems particularly something that the company should watch out for. And I agree. Basically, especially when you're doing commercial or business related landscaping, you're doing jobs for a lot of times giant like real estate investment trusts that own shopping malls and stuff like that, or own corporate office buildings. So one customer, if Simon Property Group, which basically owns all the Simon malls, they own a bunch of malls all over the world, if they don't like what you're doing, then all of a sudden you lose like 100 shopping mall customers all over the world. So yeah, they're big, therefore they have a lot of buyer power. Therefore, both companies should make sure to not piss off their really big customers, which is what you said here, which is, I like that. So other than small grammatical errors, good job. Great here. Small thing, I had the formatting a little bit different in prior versions of this, so please move market sizes down below market positioning maps so that the structure of the tools is mirrored in the structure of the summary. But that's my fault. I had that in the example I gave. It used to be above. So just move that down. Otherwise, most of you are going to make some comment about the fact that whatever company you did the market sizing for, you're going to suggest that they pursue whatever market it is that you did the sizing for. So good job there. Then market positioning maps. I like how you basically, you notice that Valley Crest is more heavily dependent on commercial clients than True Green, and your suggestion was basically about moving where they're positioned on the map in the future. That's the same kind of comment that a lot of people are, I suggest you make, so that's a good example. Value chain benchmarking, you basically picked one resource in particular, labor, and talked about how important it is, and therefore they need to make sure that they have good reward and incentive and recruiting so that they have good quality labor that's motivated to work there, which means they're going to stay, which means that very, very important resource is good quality at both companies. So that was good. You also went in and talked about R&D a little bit. So most of what you're going to say here is take one particular resource in the value chain benchmarking that is really important, and suggest that one company may be much better than the other. So you suggest that the one company that's not as good should improve that. You can say that they're both really good, but it's so important they need to make sure to continue being good at these things because it's the critical area of the business. You're going to put some comment like that there. Good job. Leveraging international, national, regional competitiveness. I actually like this comment about in-ground pools as like an innovation, but when I scrolled down and I looked at the actual table, I don't see anything about in-ground pools as an innovation there. Yeah.
I wrote a sentence about it. I don't know if I wrote it there.
Join Phil Graham's studio to expand landscape architecture.
It's in the one above.
Company will not. Okay, cool, done. I didn't notice it there at first. So basically, make sure that the comment here for everybody else, no problem now that I see where it is. The comment here for everybody else, whatever you're commenting on in the summary, make sure that it's actually there. I mean, it's great that you have observations about something in general, but make sure that whatever you make an observation about in the summary section is mirrored with information in the analyses, okay? So that's that. And then finally, last comment on financial analysis. Basically, because you use the company's overall revenues to calculate dollar figures, the ratios have no meaning for private companies. So anybody in here, like I said in examples last week too, if you end up calculating private company financial data from basically taking the industry average, multiplying it by the total sales of the company and coming up with a dollar amount, it's always going to be the same as the industry average because you use the industry average to calculate it. So I would rather, for you here, I would rather that you make a comment about the actual industry averages and, you know, whether they're high, low, like they, you know, people, like if we go down to the very bottom here, accounts. So actually, I haven't done my markups on this sheet, Haley, but like total accounts receivable as 0.232. Like you're calculating the, okay, I got to go back and look at that, but like this seems like an odd number here, but that's a comment for section 4, not section 5. So basically, if this number were really low, for example, a couple days a week, you know, as accounts as average collection period, you would make a comment like, you know, average collection periods in this industry tend to be really low on average. Both companies should make sure that they don't let their collection period get out of control. So you're making a comment about the industry average and something that's either good or bad about those numbers, and then the suggestion is based on what both companies should do because it's a general problem for the industry. Does that make sense? So in this case, since your numbers are dollar amounts that are just based on the ratios, your last comment there in the summary, I want you to take that out and make a comment in general about either good profit margins or bad profit margins. Current ratio is 1.3 on average in the industry. So, you know, industry has a relatively healthy current ratio, but companies should be careful not to drop below a current ratio of 1, something like that. Okay, and that's it for my comments there. So, Nathan, rather than going through on the fly with everybody here, if you want, I can talk through yours after we get done, or I can just write up my comments and email them to you. But rather than like taking time in class where I may or may not like come quickly to my suggestions, I think I'm going to do yours after. Okay, cool. So that's it for me for today. If you guys have any questions, you need any help, come up here as soon as everybody's gone. Then I go back to my office, and I'll be in the office hours for the next 2 hours. So, oh wait, one more thing. Wednesday, sorry, just about like scheduling stuff. So Wednesday, so the next class session, we're going to have lovely fun taking our like benchmarking test for learning. So I don't think there's going to be a guest lecturer. We have about a 20 to 30 minute window that we could have somebody, but I think originally I was tentatively planning for Valerie Lee to come on Wednesday. I talked with her. She's going to come on Monday. So a week from today, we're going to start with a lecture from Valerie Lee, and then we're going to end with a lecture from Kent Stenderup, the agriculture contact. And then the 11th, Veterans Day, is a holiday. We're not going to have class. The 16th, I'm hoping that we have, the 16th, we're going to start with Angela Walton, my ex-girlfriend. She's in consumer products, and then hopefully Pam Allison will be able to talk to us that day as well. She's the entertainment contact. And then the only one that I have not been able to confirm yet is Bob Meadows, the Mission Bank contact here locally. We're still trying to figure out if he's and Eric Schwartz. So Eric Schwartz and Angela Walton basically do very similar kinds of jobs. They're both really good speakers, so if it was possible, I was going to have both of them speak. Eric is super busy right now, so he may end up just answering some of your questions on email, and I'll forward them to you after the quarter. I don't know if we'll be able to schedule him, and I still haven't heard back from Bob. But basically, Wednesday, we do a really fun test to see how well we have done in teaching you guys. And then on Monday, we'll have 2 different guest speakers. Next Wednesday, a week from, so next week, not this week, is a holiday. And then we'll probably have 2 guest speakers on Monday the 16th. And then Wednesday the 18th, we'll fill out the SOSIs. You guys will do your presentations, 5 to 10 minutes tops, talking about some of the major lessons you learned from Globus. And then we're done, and the quarter's over. So I just want to make sure to give you an update on the speakers. I will see everybody on Wednesday, and have a good rest of the day.
See you, John.